The artifact should not have existed. Thalix Morven held the crystalline data core in her four-fingered hands, her bioluminescent skin patterns pulsing with agitation. The excavation pit stretched 50 meters below the desert surface of Kelthra Prime, a world the Ascendancy had catalogued as uninhabited for all of recorded history. Yet here, buried beneath millennia of sediment and stone, lay ruins that predated every civilization in the known galaxy, including her own. The dating is confirmed. Drazen Combe called from the analysis station, his compound eyes reflecting the harsh glare of the work lights. The sediment layers place this structure at a minimum of 47,000 standard years. That is 20,000 years before the first flowering of the Ascendancy. 20,000 years before we even achieved spaceflight. Thalix felt her respiratory slits constrict. The Ascendancy had always been first. Every child learned this truth from the moment they could understand language. Her species, the Kathrani, had been the galaxy's pioneers. They had mapped the stars, established the trade routes, built the great relay networks that connected 1,000 worlds. The Ascendancy was the foundation upon which all modern civilization rested. Or so they had believed. There must be an error in the dating methodology, Seraph Winter said, her crystalline carapace clicking as she moved closer to examine the data. She was the expedition's lead geologist, methodical and precise. The anxiety in her voice was uncharacteristic. Run the analysis again. Check for contamination. I have run it 17 times, Drazen replied. His mandibles clicked in frustration. The results are consistent. Whatever species built this city did so long before our ancestors left their homeworld. Thalix turned her attention back to the data core in her hands. It was hexagonal, each face engraved with symbols that were hauntingly familiar yet utterly alien. The Ascendancy used pictographic script for certain ceremonial purposes, but these markings were different, more angular, more aggressive in their geometry. Can we access the data stored within? She asked. Caverthone looked up from his workstation. He was their technology specialist, a quiet individual who preferred machines to people. The power systems are unlike anything in our databases. The core appears to use a form of crystalline memory storage, but the activation protocols are encrypted. It will take time to decode. Then we have time, Thalix said, though her skin patterns betrayed her unease. Continue the excavation. I want to know what else is buried here. They worked through the night, the moons of Kelthra Prime casting long shadows across the dig site. What they found defied comprehension. The city spread for kilometers in every direction, all of it hidden beneath the desert. Massive structures built from materials that had not corroded despite tens of thousands of years of exposure. Streets laid out in precise geometric patterns. Underground facilities that suggested advanced industrial capacity. And everywhere those same angular symbols. This was not a colony, Seraph said as they examined a building that might have been a governmental center or temple. This was a capital. Look at the architecture, the scale. Whoever built this did not come here as explorers. They came as conquerors. The word hung in the air like poison. We need to report this to the High Council, Drazen said. A discovery of this magnitude cannot be kept quiet. It will rewrite everything we know about galactic history. No, Thalix said sharply. Not yet. We need to understand what we have found before we risk causing widespread panic. If word spreads that another species achieved interstellar civilization before the Ascendancy, it will shake the foundation of our entire society. Perhaps that foundation deserves to be shaken, Caver said quietly. Everyone turned to stare at him. He rarely spoke unless directly addressed. We have built our identity on being first, on being superior. What happens when that is proven to be a lie? Thalix had no answer. 3 days later, Caver succeeded in activating the data core. The entire team gathered around the holographic projection array as ancient information flooded the displays. Images materialized in the air before them, structures even more massive than the ruins they had excavated. Star charts showing territories spanning hundreds of systems. Military formations displaying ships that dwarfed anything the Ascendancy had ever built. And then they saw the builders. By the eternal void, Seraph whispered. The hologram showed a bipedal species. 2 arms, 2 legs, a single head with forward-facing eyes, hair growing from the scalp, skin that came in various shades of brown and pink and everything in between. They wore clothing that combined function with aesthetics. They wielded weapons that seemed to blend elegance with terrifying destructive capacity. What are they? Drazen asked. The data core identifies them as humans, Caver said, his voice shaking as he translated the alien script. This facility was part of something called the Terran Dominion. According to these records, they controlled 347 star systems at their height. They had a standing military force of 8 billion soldiers. Their technology included faster-than-light travel, directed energy weapons, artificial intelligence networks, and planetary engineering on a scale we cannot imagine. Impossible, Seraph said. No species could achieve that level of advancement and then simply vanish without a trace. But they did vanish, Thalix said, studying the holographic displays. Whatever the Terran Dominion was, it is gone now. These ruins are all that remain. The hologram shifted, showing what appeared to be a historical record. The translation was imperfect, fragments of data corrupted by time, but the story it told was clear enough. The Terran Dominion had been vast and powerful. Humanity had spread across the galaxy like a wave, establishing colonies, building megastructures, pushing the boundaries of science and engineering. Then something had happened. There is a reference here to something called the convergence event, Caver said, parsing through layers of data. The records become fragmented after this point. I am seeing reports of system-wide failures, colonies going dark, fleet movements becoming erratic. Then nothing, just silence. How long between this convergence event and the end of their civilization? Thalix asked. Caver was quiet for a long moment. Based on the timestamps in the data, approximately 18 months. The entire Terran Dominion collapsed in less than 2 years. The implications were staggering. A civilization that had dominated 300 star systems, that had built cities to house billions, that had engineered technology beyond current understanding, had been utterly destroyed in the span of a single generation. What could cause that? Drazen asked. War? Plague? Some kind of technological catastrophe? The records do not specify, Caver said, but there are references to something they called the silence. Whatever it was, the humans feared it more than death itself. Thalix felt her skin patterns dim to near darkness. This discovery was more than just an archaeological curiosity. It was a warning from the past. If the humans, with all their power and technology, could be erased from existence, what did that mean for the ascendancy? We need to dig deeper, she said. There must be more information in the lower levels. If we can understand what destroyed the Terran Dominion, we might be able to prevent the same fate from befalling our own civilization. They descended into the depths of the ancient city. The lower levels had been sealed with massive blast doors, their surfaces etched with symbols that Caver translated as warning markers. Danger. Contamination. Do not enter. Should we heed the warning? Seraph asked. We have come this far, Thalix said. We cannot turn back now. They breached the doors using cutting equipment, the ancient metal parting reluctantly after millennia of being sealed. Beyond lay something that defied their understanding. A vast chamber stretched before them, kilometers across and hundreds of meters high. But it was not empty. The space was filled with machinery, all of it dormant but still radiating a faint energy signature. At the center of the chamber stood a structure that resembled a temple more than a military installation. As they approached, holographic displays activated, responding to their presence. The images showed scenes of devastation, human cities burning, ships exploding in orbit, entire planets going dark as their power grids failed. And through it all, a message repeating in dozens of languages. Caver translated, his voice barely above a whisper. They are saying the same thing over and over. To anyone who finds this place, they leave a warning. The silence is coming, cannot be stopped, cannot be reasoned with. It exists only to consume. They tried to fight it. They tried to flee. Neither strategy succeeded. The only way to survive is to remain hidden, to make no noise, to leave no trace. The silence hunts civilizations that grow too loud. What does that mean? Drazen demanded. Too loud? How can a civilization be too loud? I think they mean technologically advanced, Thalix said, understanding dawning cold and terrible in her mind. The silence targets species that achieve a certain level of development. The humans reached that threshold, and it destroyed them. Seraph made a sound of distress. The ascendancy is broadcasting on thousands of frequencies. We have built relay stations across half the galaxy. We are advertising our presence to the entire universe. Then we are next, Caver said simply. The team stood in horrified silence, the weight of their discovery crushing down upon them. They had come seeking knowledge about the past. Instead, they had found a prophecy of their own destruction. We have to warn the High Council, Drazen said. They must shut down the relay networks. We need to go dark before it is too late. They will not believe us, Seraph countered. Without concrete evidence, they will dismiss this as fantasy. The Ascendancy has never encountered a threat it could not overcome through military force or technological superiority. They will not accept that hiding is the only option. Then we must make them believe, Thalix said. She turned to Caver. Can you extract the historical records from this facility? All of them? Yes, but it will take time. Days, perhaps weeks. We do not have weeks, Drazen said. Every moment we delay is another moment the Ascendancy continues broadcasting our location to whatever is out there waiting for us. Thalix made a decision that would haunt her for the rest of her life. Caver, begin the data extraction. Seraph, Drazen, we need to document everything we can about this facility. If we are going to convince the High Council to take this threat seriously, we need overwhelming evidence. They worked frantically, racing against time they did not have. The data extraction revealed more horrors. The humans had not been the first civilization to fall to the silence. The records referenced at least 7 other species that had vanished before humanity even achieved spaceflight. Ancient empires that had ruled the stars, only to be wiped clean from existence when they grew too advanced. It is a pattern, Caver said, his compound eyes reflecting the glow of the displays. Civilizations rise, they expand. They build, they broadcast, and then the silence finds them. It is a filter, a mechanism that prevents any single species from dominating the galaxy permanently. But who created it? Seraph asked. Who built this silence? And why? The data core had no answers, only warnings. On the 5th day of their excavation, something changed. The equipment in the ancient chamber began to activate, systems powering up without any input from the team. Holographic displays blazed to life, showing star charts of the surrounding sectors. And one star system was highlighted in pulsing red. That is our position, Drazen said, his voice hollow with dread. That is Kelthera Prime. We triggered something, Seraph said. By activating the data cores, by accessing the human systems, we sent a signal. To what? Thalix demanded. The answer came in the form of new data flooding the displays. A countdown timer appeared, the numbers descending rapidly. Caver translated the accompanying text, though they could all guess what it meant. Detection event confirmed. Target civilization identified. Silence protocols initiating. Estimated arrival time, 14 days. The chamber began to shake. Deep within the structure, ancient machinery roared to life. The humans had left this place as more than just a tomb. It was a trap, a test. Any species advanced enough to find it, to access its secrets, would trigger the very thing the humans had tried to warn them about. We have to leave, Thalix said. Now, we take what data we have and we return to the Ascendancy homeworld. We convince the High Council to implement emergency protocols. We shut down every relay, every broadcast, every signal we are sending into the void. 14 days, Drazen said. Can we evacuate the border worlds in 14 days? We have to try. They fled the ruins, the ancient city groaning as more systems activated in their wake. Behind them, The temple at the chamber's heart began to glow with energy that had not been seen in 47,000 years. It was a beacon, a marker, a declaration to something vast and terrible that a new prey had been found. The journey back to Ascendancy space took 3 days. Thalix barely slept, spending every moment reviewing the data they had extracted. The more she learned about the Terran Dominion, the more she understood the magnitude of what humanity had accomplished. They had been poets and warriors, scientists and dreamers. They had reached for the stars with both hands and grasped wonders that the Ascendancy was only now beginning to discover. And something had killed them for it. The High Council convened in emergency session. Thalix presented her findings to the 12 most powerful individuals in the Ascendancy. She showed them the ruins, the data cores, the historical records of civilizations that had risen and fallen long before the Kathrani had even developed written language. And she told them about the countdown. "This is absurd," Council Member Threnix declared, his carapace rattling with indignation. "You expect us to believe that an ancient human civilization, one that supposedly spanned hundreds of worlds, was destroyed by some mysterious force that you cannot even properly identify? And now this same force is coming for us because we dug up their ruins. I expect you to believe the evidence," Thalix said. She kept her voice calm, though her skin patterns blazed with urgency. "The data is irrefutable. The Terran Dominion existed, fell, and we have triggered the same mechanism that destroyed them. 11 days remain on the countdown," Kaver added. "If we are going to act, it must be now." The debate raged for hours. Some council members wanted to mobilize the military to prepare for war against whatever was coming. Others argued for the evacuation of border worlds, pulling the Ascendancy's population back to the core systems where they could be defended. A few even suggested that the entire discovery was a hoax, an elaborate deception designed to undermine the Ascendancy's confidence. It was Council Member Varesh, the eldest among them, who finally spoke the truth that no one else dared voice. "We are afraid, not of what Thalix has shown us, but of what it means. We have built our entire civilization on the belief that we are special, that we are destined to rule the stars. But if the humans came before us and if they failed, then we must accept that we are not unique. We are not invincible. We are simply the latest species to make the same mistakes that have been made countless times before." "Then what do we do?" Threnix asked, his earlier bluster fading. Thalix took a breath and spoke the words she had been preparing since she first saw the countdown. "We follow the warning the humans left us. We go silent. Every relay station is shut down. Every broadcast is ceased. Every ship that is currently transmitting returns to base and powers down. We make ourselves invisible. And we pray that it is not already too late." The vote was not unanimous, but it was sufficient. The order went out across Ascendancy space. Within hours, the great relay networks went dark. Ships powered down their long-range communications. Colonies ceased their transmissions. The Ascendancy, which had proudly announced its presence to the galaxy for 27,000 years, went silent. The countdown reached 0 on the 14th day. Thalix stood in the observation dome of the High Council's orbital station, watching the stars. Around her, every monitoring station was focused on the border regions. If something was coming, they would see it. Hours passed, then days. Nothing appeared. No alien armada. No destructive weapon. No sign of the silence that had destroyed the humans. "Perhaps we were wrong," Drazen said, though he sounded uncertain. "Perhaps the countdown meant something else. Or perhaps we went silent in time," Seraph suggested. "Perhaps the silence was already searching for us. But when we stopped broadcasting, it lost the trail." Thalix wanted to believe that, but deep in her core, she knew the truth was more complex. The humans had been desperate in their final days. They had sealed their cities, hidden their technology, left warnings in multiple languages. They had done everything right, and still they had died. "We survived," she said quietly. "But we paid the price the humans could not. They refused to give up their empire. They kept fighting, kept broadcasting, kept trying to prove they could overcome anything through will and strength. We chose differently. We chose survival over pride. Was it the right choice? Caver asked. Thalix looked out at the stars, now silent of ascendancy transmissions. Ask me in 47,000 years. If someone finds our ruins and wonders who we were, then we will have failed as the humans did. But if we survive, if we endure by learning from their mistakes, then yes, it was the right choice. The galaxy was vast and dark and full of secrets. The ascendancy had learned that they were not its first masters. Perhaps they would not be its last. But unlike the proud humans who had built their Terran Dominion, the Kathrani would survive by remembering one crucial lesson. Sometimes the loudest voice in the room is the first to be silenced. And sometimes, staying quiet is the only way to hear the danger before it arrives. The ruins of Kelthra Prime remained untouched, buried once more beneath the desert sand. The High Council sealed all records of the discovery, marking the entire system as forbidden territory. Future generations would be told that certain places were off-limits, but they would not be told why. Some knowledge, Thalix realized, was too dangerous to share freely. She returned to her quarters that night, exhausted but unable to sleep. She thought about the humans, whoever they had been. She imagined their cities full of life and laughter. She wondered what art they had created, what music they had composed, what dreams they had chased across the stars. All of it was gone now, erased, as if it had never existed. The only thing that remained was a warning, carved into crystal and buried beneath the sand. We were here. We reached for greatness, and something in the dark reached back. Do not make our mistakes. Do not let pride become extinction. Stay silent. Survive. If you enjoyed this story, please like the video and subscribe for more. Thank you.